So how do you know if you're on a good rate currently? Now, there are so many variables that determine what your rate is going to be, and that obviously depends on what bank you're with. It depends on the size of your loan, the LVR of your loan, and the type of your loan. And so it's almost impossible to say, I guess with a blanket rule, what is and what isn't a good rate. But I'm going to try and do that despite saying it's very difficult. All of the scenarios I'm giving you are assuming your loans 80% or below, and your loan is of a reasonable size. Now, it's important to note that if your loan's 100,000, 150,000, for example, you're not going to get the best rates because the banks don't really make any money out of you. And if your loan is massive, we're talking generally over $1 million, but some banks is over 2 million, you're probably going to get access to even better pricing available. So all of this kind of assumes you've got effectively a normal loan, which is sub 80% and maybe somewhere between 400,000 and $1 million, just to give you a rough idea of what pricing we're seeing at the moment and whether it's worth doing anything. So starter, owner occupied home loan, sub 80%. The best rates we're seeing at the moment are kind of in the 5.2s, and anything above 5.5 I would say is too expensive. Most of the major banks are sort of sitting in that 5.4% range, but again, you can get higher discounts if your loan is bigger or low LVR or both. Investment P&I is typically about 0.2% more expensive than owner-occupied lending. So in this kind of example, we're seeing rates sort of in the 5.4 to 5.7% range. If your rate's sort of sitting at 5.6 to 5.7, it's probably pretty standard, but depending on the size of your loan and your LVR, you might be able to get a little bit better. And investment interest only, we're typically seeing that sort of between about 5.7 to 6%, again, depending on the LVR and loan size. So as kind of a general rule, if you've got a home loan that's more than 5.5%, or even more than 5.4%, potentially worth reviewing. If you've got an investment P&I loan above about 5.6 to 5.7, potentially worth reviewing. And if you've got an investment IO loan, or just only loan, above 6, again, potentially worth reviewing. The best pricing we've had done in the last month or so, owner occupied was 5.2 with a major bank with offsets and everything like that. And investment interest only was about 5.4%.